This video is going to be a little different than the ones that I normally post for my keys because I ended up hugging this, so I'll be doing a voiceover for it. I've never really done anything like this, but I know a few people have asked me to do commentary and keys, so we'll see how this goes. So this is a 14 Siege of Boralus, and our team comp is Windwalker, Broad Pally, Enhancement Shaman, Augmentation Evoker, and a Disc Priest. Right here, we're just doing a stock Siege of Boralus pull. There is not too much going on here besides the Wave Shaper that needs to get kicked, the Enforcer that does the shout, and then the 2 Firebomb guys that throw damage on top of you. It could potentially get very dangerous here if the Shattering Bellows and one of the firebombs hits you at the same time. And it could one-shot you in higher keys, so that's just something that you have to look out for when doing this first pull. This first pull is actually living for quite some time. I'm actually topping the DPS meters on this first pull, which is not something you typically see from a Windwalker monk. Now we're going up the stairs and doing the Lust pack right here. Personally, I kind of hate this because we have to Lust a pack and I don't have my cooldowns, but we actually ended up doing some decent damage on this. So this pack is very dangerous because you have both the hook and the shout at the same time that can happen, and it definitely one-shots you. And you also have the Wave Shaper that you have to kick, but the idea is with Lust, you're able to burn this pack down before you get too many nasty overlaps. And I'm pretty sure there's a way that tanks can pull these to where the hook and the shout don't overlap at the same time. So I'm playing extra safe here because I think in most of these dungeons, you don't need an insane amount of damage, you just have to be able to live. And that's kind of where the Aug Evoker comes in for this group. Personally, I'm not a big fan of having an Aug Evoker in my keys, especially in PUGs, because it's really hard to communicate without comms. Normally, we end up invising all the way to the boss room, but here we decided to pull all of the trash leading up to there. A lot of these keys are mainly about living. Even in the 14s and 15s, I haven't gotten to the point where I feel like we lived the entire time, the route was good, and just the damage wasn't quite there. Would these keys be better if Windwalker did more damage in them? Sure, but I don't think you need like insane damage in order to do 14s and 15s. We actually ended up getting the Pat. I'm not really sure who pulled it, but we recovered here pretty well. If that happens, most of the time in PUGs, like your key's pretty much bricked. But we have like a very dangerous combo of the Enforcer, the Raider, and the Bomber. So the chance of getting one shot is actually kind of high. So if you're in this situation and you see that the Bomber is targeting you and the Bellows is about to go off, it's better just to pop a defensive. Here comes the Shadowing Bellow, which is going to do a ton of damage. The Firebomb is coming out, and we're going to get the Raider down next. Also, these mobs are incredibly annoying. You don't get to have 100% uptime on them because you have to constantly run out because of the AoE that they use. This pack is actually pretty easy. Like, this is the pack that you pull to get your cooldown back. As you can see, my Zuen is up and my Storm Earth and Fire is up as well. I will not be using those cooldowns on this pack. I'll be using it on the boss. I typically don't like holding cooldowns, but for me, I think it's very important to play to my strengths at the moment, which is very good boss damage. So I'd rather crank the boss and kill it like 30 seconds faster than kill this pack maybe like 5 seconds faster or something. So far, this key has been very clean. Okay, I guess I'm typing that we're good on count and keeping the team's mental up because we did pull the extra pat, and that usually breaks the key for a lot of groups, but we recovered really well. Here, you always want to make sure that you kill the powder shot first. I didn't have touch of death, so I couldn't kill him instantly. But now we just follow the boss around, and this is kind of where the range carry this key. They have to make sure that they get the bombs down. Also, I'm pretty sure when he hits a bomb, he has like a damage amp phase. I'm playing relatively safe here. I'm really just focused on staying alive. This boss isn't hard, but there is no point in making any mistakes or running into a frontal or accidentally running into a bomb. As you can see, we're absolutely cranking this boss, doing like 2.3 mil DPS on it with the Aug Evoker. What's crazy is that the Prot Pally is doing very good damage here as well. I think with an Aug, Prot Pally is really, really strong, and it almost in a way acts as like a third DPS. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else to add here. This is a very, very easy boss. Sometimes it's easy to mess this boss up, right? If you don't pay attention to one of the bombs and it's about to go off, or you get hooked in and the tank points one of the cleaver frontals into the group and kills everyone. So just because this boss is really easy doesn't mean you should get complacent or not really think about anything when doing this boss. Oh, I just died there. I just got meleeed by, I think, one of the cleavers, which kind of sucks for the overall. But even if I were to get B-Res here, I'm not going to take that, right? Boss is at 4%. He's going to run into this bomb and die. What I was saying earlier is make sure that you're paying attention on this boss because you can die at any moment. And honestly, running into the bombs isn't as scary as you think. I believe I can pop a defensive, like Fort Brew or something, and run into a bomb in order to save the group. This pack is very interesting because it just has one kick on the Wave Shaper, but that's not the dangerous part. It's the two Shredders that are very dangerous because if given the opportunity, they could one-shot you. Especially if like a kick or a Molten Slug goes off and they teleport behind you, they can definitely kill you. Just like that. I got hit with the Singing Steel. I think that might have been like a tank ability, or maybe it was the guy teleporting behind me. But yeah, this is, I'm a little confused as to what happened because I've never really died there. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out what that was. Luckily, my team has a very good mental in this key, and no one really flames because we're really not too far behind on time. And I mean, this death isn't going to really do anything. In some of these 14s and 15s, you can die multiple times and still time the key. Like maybe other groups will just fall apart, right? Like 11 minutes in on the Siege of Boralus, you already have 3 deaths. I think if you have very good pacing, and with the new change where they gave you 90 more seconds, that's really where that 90 seconds shines, is in deaths like this, where they're just kind of unpreventable. They're kind of like, they're preventable, but I mean, just shit happens and people die sometimes, and it is what it is. So it just doesn't feel as bad to lose that time. So this pack, that one just had the wave guy again. Just make sure you get kicks on it, and the raider that pulls you in. The most dangerous part about this area is not running into the hallway once they're shooting, because even if the tank goes through, the animation might still be there and you'll still die. Like, yes, this is timed, but there's no point in rushing and making just unnecessary mistakes. And plus, this game can be very buggy and glitchy at times, so you just have to make sure that you're playing extra careful in keys. So this pack is incredibly annoying because you have the artillery guy coming in and all of these shooters just going crazy on the team. Yeah, this is one of the most annoying mobs, I think, in Season 1 of The War Within. Sometimes this guy just goes into the water. He dips as soon as he gets to 10%. He just starts running away. It's the most annoying thing ever. Pally in my group is talking about hitting that mob as well. So now we're just running across here. Again, this is like pretty standard for this key. If you've done it, I really don't think you have to have crazy routes in these 14s and 15s in order to time them. You just have to game, just play carefully, and have decent DPS, and I think you'll be fine in these keys. I've seen people do like multiple invis skips and all this crazy stuff, and then if you're trying to do them in PUGs, most of the time someone's going to mess it up, and they're either going to forget to pot. Something is going to happen, right? A lot of these, just hold down W key, trust your tank, and you'll be able to time it. As you can see there, I used my Shadow Meld ability to not take the damage from this commander. Unfortunately, I was made to swap to Gnome for Mythic Queen Ansarax, so I won't be able to do that for the next like 2 weeks until we get the boss down. You know, it is what it is.
Lockwood, our forces have lost control of the docks.
So here I actually have my cooldowns, and I'm just going to use this to blast this pack because this boss kind of sucks, right? You can't really like burn this boss faster than the intermission that the boss causes. And sometimes if you just have absolute crazy single target damage, you don't even really get full value out of it on the boss. And again, I think it's pretty bad to hold down cooldowns. Unless you're holding for like a potion or for lust, like you really shouldn't be holding your cooldowns. Or if there's like a very, very hard or important pack ahead of time that you know a lot of groups struggle on, or maybe your group is going to struggle on, that's really the only time that I think you should hold your cooldowns. Also, something to keep in mind, you can't LOS the commander. I've seen this even in like 14s and 15s. People try to go behind the wall or they try to outrange it. I've yet to see someone successfully do that. Maybe there's some tech behind it, but I just haven't seen it yet. So we're sitting at 15 minutes and 30 seconds going into this boss. On the other key that I did that we mistimed earlier that day, we ended up killing this boss by 1820. And if I'm remembering this correctly, this enhancement shaman absolutely cranked this boss. Look at that single target damage, 3.42. I did 2 mil thinking I was doing well, right? But this enhancement shaman just destroyed this boss, which is awesome. Like, I love that. So we're going to go ahead and melt this pack in between. I never do the cannon because I'm afraid I'm going to miss. I still have PTSD from like the couple of weeks that I played in Shadowlands when you had that spear that you threw at the angel. And like as soon as you threw it, the angel moved and you messed it up and the key was bricked. That dungeon stressed me out. We're just giving this boss the business. A nice trick here is that you actually stand in those Azerite artillery circles for 2 ticks, right? So like when the first circle comes down, you can stand there until the second circle comes down and you'll be perfectly safe. The ideal way to do this is to stack all the melee as a group and just move like clockwise or counterclockwise, however you guys decide. If you're in a pug, that's just something that you're gonna have to agree upon ahead of time. I don't know if that really like makes a big difference, but it's just a little bit more uptime and a little bit more DPS. You can't hear this, but I'm hyping up the enhancement shaman because of the crazy single target damage this person just put out. Also, you used to be able to like outrange the ricochet shot. Pretty sure they changed that, so you can no longer do that. It does do quite a bit of damage. You just have to pop a defensive there. There, I stood in the circle like for the second tick, and we were totally fine. We actually ended up killing this boss 23 seconds faster than on the other attempt at this dungeon. I don't know what happened to my Raider IO add-on in the bottom right, where it says that we spent 11 minutes and 16 seconds on this boss. Maybe their website was messed up that day or something. Typically in Siege of Boralus, you don't really have many deaths or issues up until after the second boss. This is kind of where the dungeon gets pretty hard. There are a ton of kicks and a ton of really annoying monsters here. These demolishers can slow down your pace quite a bit because of their slams and their AoE fear. I just accidentally opened my achievements button because it's right next to my T key, which is my spinning crane kick. That happens sometimes. I really wish you could turn like those panels off in keys. That would be kind of cool, but I could just also try not to fat finger extra keys. As you can see, this pack is living. I'm not really sure what happened to the enhancement shaman. I think he might have died, but we're cranking this pack. We're making sure we're getting it down. And yeah, the most important monster to focus on here is the demolisher. You obviously want to make sure you're getting that fear and the crushing slam out of the equation as fast as possible. And also these bananas, man, I run into them all the time. I'm sure I'll run into a banana here in a second. Okay, I didn't, but that typically happens for me. There's actually some tech. I'm pretty sure if you're about to get feared and you run into a banana, it's actually better because the banana is a shorter stun than the fear. Also, I'm not really sure why I shadow melded there. Oh, I was trying to dispel and I hit the button next to it. Typical Axe Alpha stuff. Again, we're trying to focus the Demolisher here, making sure we kick these web bolts and the poisons. So this one is specifically for the Windwalker monks that are out there right now watching this. The most important thing that you can do here is make sure that you're dispelling the tank and dispelling yourself. And honestly, just if you have a free dispel, make sure you're dispelling people in your party. That's kind of where the value comes in for us. Like, I think the next pack can put like a poison on the tank or something that just makes them take crazy damage, and they usually end up dying. And actually, I've bricked a key that way because I completely forgot to dispel the tank, and the tank died. And then I felt bad about it, and after that I set up a different hotkey for detox, and I'm like extra mindful to make sure that I'm dispelling the tank as much as I can. So this is the super dangerous pack for the tank I was talking about. Again, we're focusing the demolishers, and it's the... I'm not really sure who puts the dot on the tank. The tank has 2 dots, and my dispel is up, and I did dispel, even though I just talked about dispelling the tank. I'm pretty sure the healer got him there, or someone got him there. I actually don't think priest can dispel poison, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't really know. Something I want to work on this season is to kind of increase knowledge about the game throughout, like what other classes can do and what they can't do. I don't know. I think this guy's macro was messed up because the 454, that number that looks like a spell ID or like a potion ID or something. Not really sure what's going on with that. We actually played very, very clean here. We're very good on time. Most people try to skip this pack with invis pots, but we are running with a disc priest, and he was able to do the I forgot what that spell's called, but we were able to skip that pack. Personally, I hate this 2-pack right here. It just feels like such a waste of time. It's only 2 target. There's not a lot of mobs here. Like, I'm sure there's a way to pull these 2 into the next pack, but double commander is probably very rough. This pack is just terrible. I hate it. Looking at our overalls, actually pretty decent for this key. We're sitting at 1.9 mil with the Evoker, which is pretty decent. I think this is one of the stronger dungeons for the Windwalker monk. I think it all depends on the pacing of the pulls and the size of the pulls, right? Because we tend to excel in smaller pulls compared to other classes currently. And other classes have like very fast and snappy AoE damage, and we just have a little bit more build up to that ramp. So this pack is pretty dangerous for the tank as well. He's got a poison on him, and I'm not dispelling him again because I'm just, I guess, not paying attention. I'm not really sure what I was doing or what I was thinking. The most important thing here to kick is the commander and just making sure that we're getting this pack down. There's not much going on here. The commander is about to go down, and we just need to kill the pack in the back left, and we should be able to start killing the boss after that. I'm actually a pretty big fan of not pulling the smaller pack in the cubby in this boss area because you don't really need it. It makes it really weird for timings, and this boss can take quite a bit of time, so I want to make sure I'm saving my cooldowns. So it's okay for this pack to live just a little bit longer. Again, it's totally fine to let this pack die just a little bit slower, but making sure that you have everything going into the boss. Our healer is, or that's our tank talking about being super Yeah, I've actually seen this quite a bit. Paladin tanks running out of mana. Not really sure how their stuff works, but I know Pally tank is super strong right now, and they do a ton of damage. Normally those, like the three ice circles or whatever, that ability usually takes me down to like 500k health or something. Running with the AUG definitely makes me a lot tankier. So here we're using all of our cooldowns, potion, lust, and we're just giving this boss the business. When I first started doing this dungeon, I wanted to save Lust for the last boss because that was the most dangerous part. I think people just didn't have the timings with the slam and the dot circle at the beginning of the season, but like a lot of people are a lot better with that now. And because of this boss's movement and of how annoying just this boss is with the waves and the frontals and just all of the combination of everything, lusting here usually ends up saving you a lot more time. We're doing some pretty good boss damage here. As you can see, the enhancement shaman just turned on the burners and is going crazy with the single target damage. From what I can see, maybe the enhancement shaman was running a single target focused build, so maybe that's why his overall wasn't as high as some other enhancement shamans. I'm not really sure. I don't really understand other classes that well, and honestly I don't really know if I understand Windwalker monk all that much. I just hit the buttons and play the game. Yeah, so we're just killing this boss. Most important thing here to watch for is obviously the waves, and this nasty overlap with the frontal and just the waves coming at the same time. Just don't panic, run out of the way, or just play extra safe here. I don't think there's really anything else you need to pay attention for on this boss. A good tip would be to not stand too close to the walls, because if the waves spawn and you're on the wall, you will just instantly die. I've seen some people break keys that way and just doesn't feel good. So try to play extra safe. This boss isn't very hard. Another good tip is to make sure that you're not standing near the middle of the room when that breakwater ability goes out, because the last thing you want is those ice circles where you're going to be standing in between the waves.
One.
You've done it! Without their giant, Ashvane's forces will be... Enjoy your hollow victory, fools! Without the Fulgurian fleet, you have no...
Okay, so we're going into the last boss at 2845, which is plenty of time. There's a little bit of monk tech there. If you hit that branch or that piece of wood at a certain angle and you roll, you'll just get sent flying into the boss room. This is a lot easier than what I normally run with, because I run with a red paladin and an enhancement shaman. And so if you factor in a tank, that's 4 people on top of the tentacle, which can get very, very crowded. So here we have 2 ranged and the pally, which is kind of a ranged character, if I'm going to be honest. He doesn't have to be right on top of the boss. So here the most important thing is there are 2 nasty overlaps. I'm pretty sure it's like the first one in this area and the first one in the second platform area, where the dot flies out at the same time and then the slam comes right after. So if you don't get dispelled, if you don't pop a defensive, you will die. He shot 2 of the dot things over there into range. so I'm totally safe. I don't have to pop a defensive. I'm actually getting very, very lucky here. I have like all of my defensives up because I've not gotten the water dot yet. Actually try to help with the off healing with Vivify. I think that's another place where Windwalker Monk excels in keys, is that you can have very, very good self-healing, and you can also off-heal as well with Vivify. I would highly recommend having a Vivify insta-cast tracker. If that thing crits, you can crit for like 2 mil HP or something. It's very, very good. Here we're standing in the Priest's Holy Ring. I forgot what the ability is called. Make sure you stand in those, otherwise they get upset. Maintaining a pretty good pace. I think the most important thing on this boss is just to, again, play safe and play smart. Don't do anything stupid. Don't stack on top of other people. That's really the only thing I have to say there. A good thing about having a Windwalker is that they can dispel themselves. So there, I got the dot, and I made sure to check that no one was around me, and as soon as the dot hit me, I just instantly diffused it, and so I'm not taking that extra damage, and I'm also helping out the healer. This tentacle is about to go down, my cooldowns are about to come up, and my potion's up as well, which is very, very good for the last overlap. That is where people make a lot of mistakes, because there's not as much room on the ship, and it's nice because I can just slam all of my cooldowns on this last tentacle and just end up killing it.
Just give me a second to get this cannon working. Ready to fire.
I don't have anything up currently for myself, so I was able to get dispelled by the healer. This is a very, very important like healer boss, but there's not much you can do if you're getting hit with the slam and the dot at the same time. You just end up dying. Now we have 1 minute left to kill this last tentacle. I don't really have many cooldowns going into this. I'm hoping that the enhancement shaman has something in the tank and we are able to kill this tentacle. So I think someone's cat was on their keyboard or something. I'm not really sure what happened. I diffused putrid water there again. There's not really much going on in this last one. It's just pretty much a race against the timer. I have my touch of death up. I'm trying to make sure that we kill this tentacle as fast as possible. Now there's the RP of getting into the cannon, and once the cannon is shot, you actually have a small grace period to make sure you kill the boss and still time the key. I'm still sitting here looking around, making sure I'm healing people because I don't want to break the key at the end. Vivify is your best friend in keys, especially in PUGs. That was my plus 14 Siege of Boralus on Windwalker Monk, and hopefully this helps a few of you guys out. Let me know what you guys think about the commentary. But thanks for watching. If you like the content and you want to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And I also stream on Twitch, so you can hop in there and ask whatever questions that you have.